Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk Live. I'm Ben Ferguson, and today we have yet a better show than last. If you can imagine, I try to make a better show each time. Today we have producer Rod Latham, a very iconic Santa Barbara name. Welcome, Rod, to the home studio.
Thank you, Ben. It's good to see you again. It's been quite a while since I've
You know what?
seen
It's
you.
been quite a while. You were my very first guest on the evening show. I think that was 2014.
Wow, that has been a while.
And I watched it yesterday, and I looked 20 years. It's almost like an alien. I may have been abducted and gone away for 20 years, and they brought me back. But I looked a lot younger then. But anyway, I watched the interview we had, my very first one, and it was really good.
I remember that interview. I during that time I did a lot of interviews.
That's how I met you. You were doing an interview for somebody else at the station.
Yes, and I remember doing that interview with you because it's the first time I had met you. I didn't know you then. And I remember really enjoying it, so I'm glad to be back.
Thank you. That's nice of you to say. Yeah, if anybody wants to see that interview, go to YouTube, the evening show with Ben Ferguson / Rod Latham, and you'll see a really cool. We talk about spirits and different things that happen. Hector, I think the gentleman's name was the 9 or 10-year-old. Now, you know Randy Rouse.
Of course, I've known Randy forever.
Okay, so I'm the only one in town that hasn't met him yet. But actually, we had him on the show the other day, and I mentioned your name. He goes, "Of course I know Rod Latham." So that was
well. I ate it. I helped him keep his business going for many years. Ate at Paradise for I don't know how many years, more years than I can remember.
So do you live downtown? You must live downtown.
I live close to downtown. I mean, I can walk downtown I'm up between the Mission and the hospital.
Yeah, that's a good place to live.
Beautiful area. You can get to everything quick, and I spent a lot of time downtown, and Paradise was just the go-to place.
That was a place I remember when I first moved here in 86, 87. That was I had a date, and somebody said, "Go to the Paradise." Yeah. And I lived in IV, and I had a 63 Impala, so it was a long haul. But we finally got there and ate our expensive cheeseburgers in the living room, and it was really kind of fun. So I had worked at various restaurants in the 80s, and and he knew. Remember the Epicurean?
Sure.
So I was a busboy in Seattle all through high school, and I figured if I'm going to work somewhere, I want to go somewhere where they're going to feed me, they're going to give me money that day, and I'm going to get a paycheck. So when I came down here, I was going to school, and I thought, I need to find a restaurant. But I probably should have gone to the Epicurean. But I talked to Scott Hogue, he was the owner, and I went every Wednesday for 4 Wednesdays. He kept saying no, 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 and finally he goes, fine. Gave me a job as a lunch waiter, and it's funny, we had to wear tuxedos, so we all went to the thrift shops, and we got our whatever we could find to dress up.
Epicurean was for Santa Barbara was a fancy, it was the fancy restaurant. And very good. I mean, the food was great, but it was not your casual drop in, grab a burger kind of.
It was during the opulent Reagan era. I remember there was a congressman that had his Chrysler New Yorker sitting out front running for 3 hours while the congressman was having dinner.
Oh my God.
Gregory Peck I saw one time, and that was like, that was something else.
Wow.
But a lot of neat people went in there. Marky Post from Night Court. I remember Julia Childs came in. But there was one time I got pretty good at it as a lunch waiter. They didn't want me at dinner for whatever reason. Probably knew a little more than I did.
Not ready for prime time.
I guess not. But I mean, lunchtime, all the attorneys and doctors and everybody went there for lunch from 12 to 1. It was a madhouse.
Yeah.
So I remember, the big, huge trays, the big oval trays. Well, I'm in the kitchen. I have the Carrillo room was the dining room. They all had individual names. The Carrillo room was right on the street, so that was the furthest away from the kitchen. So I'm walking down, I'm hustling, and I'm going through the 2 doors, and I have probably 6 different plates. Now, they're not just plates with cheeseburgers and hamburgers. They're French style, thought out meals. And I'm cruising down the hallway, and there's a waiter that was talking to some people, and right as I get behind him, he moves back, and I'm like, and it started, the sway started, and I'm like, and everything was in slow motion, and I'm like, no, I mean, I have to correct this, and it just went way too, and the plate, everything smashed all over the place, and everything was quiet like that, and I thought, I looked down, and I saw a man's wingtip shoe covered with this pot pie stuff, and I thought, I got to do one thing, I can either walk out right now, or I can get on my knees and clean his shoe off, and I got on my knees and cleaned his shoe off, but oh my God, that was just, I'm sure a lot of people have that story too, that were there eating them. But restaurants, we were talking about different movie stars going in his restaurants, and you've lived here a long time, right?
All my life. I'm 5th generation.
Yeah. So we had a little game with him called How Well Do You Know Your Restaurants? And let me tell you, I usually tighten it up and make it so you're going to miss one or two. He nailed every single one of them.
Randy
did.
Oh, well, he was a restaurateur. So
right, but I mean, I did some weird stuff, and he still knew it.
Still
and I'm like,
it,
man,
yeah.
He cleaned me out of all the prizes. So I'm going to play the game with you because you've lived here. But I got to tell you, I can't have another winner like this.
Well, I doubt that I'm going to get him all right.
Before we do that, I want to show you a couple things. Having problems with this. So this is a picture.
Oh my God, I have the same color shirt on.
You're pretty close. Pretty close.
I did not plan that.
Look at this. My very first guest.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
And but, you do look younger. I still look old.
You look exactly the same.
I look old then, and I look old now.
Yeah, it looks like this is my nephew. Anyway, I've noticed that online that you're involved not only just in producing plays and things like that, but in the arts. And I remember a while back you had some kind of art exhibit with all different kinds of sculptures that you put together.
Yep.
But now you're into neon.
Yeah.
And
I've been doing neon for almost 5 years now.
Yeah, neon's like one of my favorite things.
Yeah. I mean, it's an old school, for me, a very romantic kind of a thing. And I don't get into the garish signage and things that most people think of neon and they think of signs in Vegas and, big, bright,
Right.
I like using the color and the light as a sculpting tool.
Did you start doing all this during the pandemic when they're...
No, long before pandemic. I was actually with my dad when he was...
I'm going to show some of these pictures while you're talking.
Yeah, when he was dying. And I had been doing assemblage work up until that time. And, when you're with someone and they're on their last leg, you're just spending hour after hour after hour being with them, being quiet and supportive. And I started getting all these images. And they all had neon in them. And I thought, okay, you guys are sending these to you got the wrong address here because I don't know anything about neon. And there they are. These are all great.
This looks like the sculpture down by the beach.
Well, it was inspired by that Boyer sculpture.
Yeah.
The rainbow. I call this the Rainbow Arch.
Now you made these from scratch, basically.
Yeah.
This is my favorite one here.
Oh, I always love to see what. Oh, that was a commission piece called
right?
Matches. I made it for a couple, and their last name is Matches, although it's spelled differently. And they said, "Would you do something for us that has matches in them?" And I said, "Yeah, I would love to do that." It was very fun to do that piece.
I don't know why I like this one, but I like this one.
It's very simple. It's very
am I holding it right?
Yep. It's a horizontal piece.
Yeah.
That one's in a gallery in Palm Desert right now.
So and I only have a few of these, but you have a website where you can go on.
RodLatham.com. Latham with an I-M.
That's easy enough to remember. RodLatham.com.
All of my work there. I'm always working on new pieces.
So commission pieces. So if somebody wants something, they can come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. This first one I saw. Well, this was neat. Just the word "begin."
Yeah.
That was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Kind of nice to wake up to and see that and just say it's every day's a brand new day.
Yeah. That one sold as soon as I was hanging it in a gallery in Palm Springs about 2 years ago. A woman walked in. She goes, "Oh no, take that down. I have to have that." And I went, "Okay." Nobody's ever going to see this one because it never got to be up in the light of day. But
so that could be your next thing is just do these full time. But there's a lot more creativity in you than just neon. I think
I'm doing it. I would say 3/4 of my time right now is focused on my art.
That's pretty big money, isn't it?
Well, I don't. My pieces are not terribly expensive because I've only been doing it for 5 years, and I don't want to gouge people. I do it because I love to do it. And the way when I go into a gallery and I give them prices, they usually consistently will say, "Oh, these are too low. These are priced too low."
You go to New York and something like that's $12,000.
Yeah. And I say, I would much rather sell a piece so I could make another one than do some pieces and have them sit there and wait. I'm in a flow right now. And so I want to keep the flow going. And I love sharing my work with people. I love it when someone resonates with a piece.
Right.
That's a wonderful connection.
Like Matches. My mom was an artist, and she was amazing. And she would have families come to her and say, either do caricatures of the family or do oil paintings or whatever. And when they saw the final product, they were just, like you were saying, just in awe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that must have been a really pretty good feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, when you mention that, hey, they got the wrong address. Remember the spirits? So when I rewatched the interview yesterday, my mom had just passed away a year before, and you were finishing unfinished business and at the Libero, I think, right? Yeah. And I went to see that, a couple weeks later, which was really good for me to see. It was really good for me to a man like you who had that story at that particular time in my life, because I was so incredibly close to my mom, and I still am. And I haven't seen anything, but I was telling Randy Rouse, it was funny because I told him about a couple of the situations or times where things came to me telepathically about going upstairs and opening a door.
The candle.
The candle.
Yes.
Exactly right. And I told him, and I'm pouring my heart out to him, right? And I said, has anything like that ever happened to you? He goes, not until this moment now. Yeah. And I'm like, thanks, Randy. So, I mean, but at least I have that. I have that. I'm shown, I'm led. I know that. And I know I know my mom's here all the time. In fact, she even told me before she left us, she said, whenever you're eating something great, because whenever I'd eat something, I'd call her. I'm like, man, this is good. And she goes, I'll be right there. Yeah. And she was very matter of fact about it too. Yeah. So, but you had mentioned that you'd seen like the Star Trek pixelating entities like Hector.
Yes.
Since then, since we've talked last, have you had any other situations? Do tell. I'm so into that right now.
I have. They are not things that I seek out or sit down and try to make happen. But because I studied at the Arthur Findlay College in England about 6 years ago.
Arthur Findlay, that's an English name.
Yes, very English. He donated his mansion to create this college of mediumship. And people come from all over the world to study there with the most amazing people. And I had 3 different people say to me, you need to go to Arthur Findlay. And I went, what is this place? Why? So on the third one, 3 is always my magic number. When I get something 3 times, I stop and I go, okay, I'm listening. Talk to me. So I looked them up and I researched them and I went, oh my God, I do need to go here. And so there I learned how to put structure to what I had been experiencing since I was 15 years old and didn't really know how to control and manipulate it or stop it or turn it on.
So when you first, I think Hector was your first.
Yeah.
Did you welcome that feeling, or were you scared?
I didn't know what to think.
Right.
Because if someone would have asked me the day before if I believed that there were things like ghosts or spirits, I would have said no.
But then that lady came to you and put her hand on your shoulder and says, we know he's here. Yeah, that was
life-changing.
Right.
Because to have someone else acknowledge and describe what I was seeing, independently, so this woman I had never met was like, okay. Because at 15 years old, you're still developing your
you're
mind
finding yourself.
You're learning how life works and everything. And I was, I questioned a lot, but I wasn't afraid of it because there was nothing about Hector to be afraid of.
Let me just mention real quick for those people. Hector was an entity that when Rod worked at the Big Yellow House, when he was 15, down in the
wine cellar.
In the wine cellar, he saw a ghost, a spirit, and he would play. A little boy would play tricks on people that were there, and anyway, you saw him for the first time, and
and that kind of started the whole thing. I ended up writing. I wrote a book called The Spirit of the Big Yellow House.
Sure, I read
it's
that.
Still in the stores, but I've done now 3 editions of the book. The first 2 sold out. The 3rd edition is almost sold out. I can't believe it.
What's it called?
It's called The Spirit of the Big Yellow House.
So I also read recently that they're renting that place out in sections, and that they've sealed off the staircase and they put in an elevator. Did you hear that?
Yeah. The staircase that goes to the basement, I think that they did seal that off. And so it's just
was it because of Hector, or was it just? Oh, okay.
No, I mean, the guy who owns that building is not. We've spoken multiple times. He's not interested in any of the spirit history of that property. So he doesn't
really care about that.
I don't want to speak for him, but my observation is that he doesn't do anything there based on anything other than what he wants to do to it's his property.
Sure.
So
I'm kind of getting you off the beaten path. We were at Arthur Findlay in England, and
and so since my time there, I've been able to I've had people come to me. I'm a little hesitant to say this on the air because I'm not seeking this. I'm not inviting this.
I'm about to ask you this.
Yeah.
But I was going to wait till after the show.
But I've had people come. Usually, it's people who know me pretty well and say, "Would you be willing to do a reading with me?" And normally, I'll just say no because I really don't do that. But I did have a friend, a dear friend, Ellen Anderson, who is an amazing playwright and a mentor. She mentored me writing Unfinished Business. Really? She's the one that said, you have to write this, Rod.
That was different than any other production that I've ever heard of. The way kind of the audience was an interactive part of the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was neat.
But she was writing a script. This is about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now. COVID just, screws with your brain. You can't remember timeline anymore. But it is pre-COVID. Our lives are all about pre-COVID and post-COVID. But anyway, she came and she said, I'm writing this play about this woman, this artist, this Scandinavian artist who died in the early 1900s. And I can't find information about her, but I need more information about who she was as a person, her personality.
So she asked you to channel her?
She said, do you think you could tune into her? And I went, oh. I said, well, first of all, it's really not up to me. It's up to her.
Right.
If she wants to be contacted, she'll show up. If she doesn't, I'm going to sit there and feel like a fool. I won't feel like a fool because I know that.
Well, if nothing comes to you, the person respects that you won't say anything. You'll just say, hey, nothing came to me.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So I did, and long story short, because this is about an hour-long story, and I won't tell you the whole story, but the short of it is that she did show up. She was very willing to talk, and the information I got from her was so detailed. I've actually written about this. I'm writing a book right now. It's somewhat of a memoir, but it's not really a memoir. But it's a collection of amazing experiences.
God, I bet.
And this is one of them. It's a chapter in the book. And
does the book have a name yet?
It doesn't.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. I don't know when I'll come up with a name. I'm still writing. I've gotten.
Well, you're sure? I was in the middle of writing a book, and I thought, well, I have like 5 chapters I haven't even lived yet. So, what am I gonna? Yeah. What am I gonna do there?
Yeah. So I do go into detail about this artist and the what really amazed me and Ellen. I told Ellen, I said, if I get something and she starts coming through, the information usually comes really fast. You need to record this because I won't remember and you won't rember everything. So
it's like a trance state you're in?
No, not really. I mean, it's not. I don't kind of roll my eyes back and go. As soon as that connection is made, a lot of what I get is visual. So I get images. And she just started showing me images. But then she also was explaining stuff. It was unlike any reading I've ever done. She got technical and detailed about places and times and architecture and historical stuff that I didn't know anything about.
Sounds like it was fun for her.
It was.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah. So I went back and researched her after I did it, and I had goosebumps. I was reading these articles and books on this woman, and I'm like, oh my God, that's what she was telling me about. So I got to actually go back and document what came through, and so I felt really good about getting clear content.
So you've been blessed with this 4th dimension type thing, and I remember when we talked about your family coming to you when your mom passed over, and I remember thinking, God, how lucky this man is. That is so. I mean, I imagine I've heard since then because I've really been into this paranormal thing that people were really scared when that happened because they didn't know how to deal with it. But then in time, they've kind of gotten used to it and they're a little less scared. But I mean, it sounds like a friendly thing with you.
It's always been a very positive, love-based, and I constantly. I tell people this, and it's what I do, but I on at least a daily basis, I acknowledge the people around me. I thank them. I share my gratitude with them. I invite them to help guide me, and they do. And sometimes they give me very specific guidance and messages, and I just know they're there all the time, and I think it's important that we acknowledge.
You know, I do that every single morning. I pray to be led because I know that I have helpers. I just don't. I don't see them. I think you should do a reading with Randy Rouse sometime. Because I told him that he looked like. I mean, I felt like I had a cone with little stars on the head.
I'd love to see what's coming up for State Street.
Yeah, I gave him my idea.
Good.
You know, I said, how many times you have the mayor in your living room? I have to run some. In fact, I want to run something by you. Talk shows, I love this, right? I mean, I absolutely love it. I did the evening show, and I was thinking, and I told him, and I said, why don't we do this? Think about this for a minute. Because I went to a show, I went to see Sinbad, and a comedian.
Oh, comedian, yeah.
And very few seats were sold. It was weird. It was at the Granada. And I thought, why don't we, you know the Center Stage Theater, right in the middle of downtown. In the morning from 8 to 11, my guess is it's vacant. So I was thinking, let's get a little talk show in there. Let's rope off 5 rows of seats, and let's give a bunch of tickets out to all the hotels. And when people check in, say, hey, would you like to go to a show tomorrow morning? It's going to be every day, 9:30 to 10, a half-hour show. And we can have people who are involved in a show that night or maybe the next day, like you're going to come on and say, hey, your production is at the Libero tonight or tomorrow, or have a chef from the Palace talk about what he's cooking tonight, and pump it into all the hotel rooms, right? So, because I just recently saw a show in Vegas, and I flipped the TV on to see what's going on locally, and you know, not an infomercial, but a cool little entertainment show. Yeah. And anyway, I threw it by him. And if you ever hear of anybody, or if you ever know of anything, I'd love a hand.
You know who you need to talk to?
Who?
You need to talk to the Downtown Organization. They're very creative.
Are they called the Downtown Organization?
Yeah,
okay.
Downtown Organization. Robin Elander is the head of it.
I'll tell Robin that Rod told me that it was okay to do.
I sent you. She's wonderful. She's very arts connected and very creative. And she has tons of ideas. I think she has many more ideas than she'll ever be able to fulfill because it's downtown and it's the city and there's all these obstacles. Well, but she's the one to talk to. About that.
You know, I knew you knew something. If I were visiting from Chicago and I'm in Santa Barbara and I flip the TV on and I'm getting ready in my hotel and I see something that's going to be live that night, I'm like, I'm going to go see that.
Yeah. Sure.
And we could sell tickets and have fun. And people could say, hey, I went to a production or a show or something like that. Anyway, let's play How Well Do You Know. You're going to be playing for... I had a show. I don't know if you ever saw the show called Dude, You're Making a Scene. It was a little game show I put together. I ran a few episodes.
No, I missed that one.
Okay, well, we had pretty cool...
Making a scene.
Dude, You're Making a Scene. It was 4 actors, 2 contestants came on, and we had 2 surprise props. And the contestants had to write a 5-minute scene. They went off for 15 minutes, right? And then we filmed it live without rehearsing. Anyway, had a bunch of hoodies. So that's what you're playing for.
Oh boy! All right.
So
stakes are high here.
It's the multiple choice. I'm gonna name 3 restaurants: McDonald's, Burger King, and the Galpin Gourmet. Obviously, the Galpin Gourmet is not the right one, right?
Okay. So I'm picking the one that doesn't fit.
Exactly. What doesn't belong in this picture? The Pitchfork. Now these are in the late 70s and 80s. The Pitchfork, the Brown Pelican, Josie's Four Winds.
I would say the Pitchfork.
You're